Welcome to another special edition of Words, Music, Dance, movie reviews. This time we're going to talk about Star Wars, The Last Jedi. So, got Ricky here with me, and we both seen the movie. Spoiler warnings for anyone who hasn't. Ricky, what are your thoughts on the movie?
I was skeptical going into it because they say
a lot of bad press came from.
First of all, it's Disney took over from George Lucas, so I'm always gonna think the next Star Wars is gonna be bad because it's not a George Lucas film.
Right.
It's based on the characters from George Lucas, but it's not a George Lucas film.
Right.
They say it rivals The Empire Strikes Back. So first, right off the bat, I didn't want to see it, but I had the opportunity to see it. The story was okay, but the action, I think, action was great, really great. The only issue I have is with
Run them off.
Kylo Ren.
Okay.
How he's pretty much a pussy. Even in the previous movie, and Finn. How do you have a stormtrooper wielding a lightsaber? How?
Because he was trained in the art of combat.
Combat, yeah, but only a Jedi or a Sith should be wielding a lightsaber.
That's not true. See,
who else has done it?
So that's one of the biggest issues that people who had an issue with the movie.
Because he was like a nobody.
Right.
Like a stormtrooper.
But one of the biggest issues that most people have had with The Last Jedi is their interpretation of Star Wars movies. So going into the movie with an expectation of how it should be, you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Because you're used to George Lucas.
Well, not even that. You're used to 1970s, 2000s, where we're in a new generation now. So you're used to the story of the Skywalkers.
But it also in episode 1, 2, and 3
was the beginning of the episode of the story of the Skywalker.
You still had you didn't have a nobody wield a lightsaber.
You had a nobody being born with the power of the Force, who eventually was trained to use a lightsaber. However, there's never been a rule that said only Jedis can use a lightsaber or the Force itself.
That's true.
And that's kind of what this movie is telling you. Yoda tells them and tells Luke that we kind of been doing it wrong. We've been using the Force for our own thing. It belongs to Jedis. And in actuality, it's like there are people that are born of the Force that may not have been trained by Jedi or have you. And it's kind of like the Jedi were like, no, it's mine. You can't do it because you got to be trained by us or you're too old.
Just like this girl, like she was pretty much born with it.
Right.
Like she didn't have any Jedi background.
And that's a lot of people have an issue with her having the Force in her and her parents not being anybody, whatever. That goes back to Anakin. His parents were nobody. We don't even know who his father is. He was born into the Force. They say that was the whole Jesus complex of it. He was. Now, what I gathered from Rey was the Force is within her. The Force has been, and a lot of times they say the Force awakens or has been dormant. Right. But a lot of people may not know what the Force was. She, because she had so much free time, read books and stuff on the Jedi. So she knew that the Jedi became legendary. They became myth. They became story. They became, so she read up on it. So she wasn't trained in the way of the Jedi. However, she knew of what they could do. The difference between the Jedi, the difference between Rey now and Kylo Ren compared to Jedis was these younger kids use the dark side of the Force. And Rey is the example of using the dark side does not make me bad or evil. The Jedi used to say only use the light side of the Force.
Yeah, it's like good or bad.
And which is why also the Jedi were capped at their power. And the Sith, on the other hand, were using the dark side, and they were shooting lightning bolts out their fingers. They were much stronger because the dark side is rage and anger. Like, what was the story, the quote that Yoda says, anger leads to hate and da-da-da. So all of those emotions, they considered dark side. Whereas emotion is human nature. You're going to be emotional. Sometimes you are allowed to be mad. Whereas the Jedi were walking around like they had no emotions. And to them, it was like, okay, maybe we're doing it wrong. That's kind of what Yoda said. Maybe we're doing it wrong. these newer apprentices or younglings, whatever you want to call them, Rey, for example, has had anger and stuff within her because her parents left her. So and that's why Luke tells her, you went to the dark side and didn't even hesitate. And to him, that always meant if you go to the dark side, you're just bad. So he looked at it like when Kylo Ren did it, I gotta kill you. When she did it, he's like, I'm not training. And she's telling you, I'm a good person. I just got some anger and some hate in me. My parents left me. I got some things I'm dealing with. Like, let me, and he's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And that's where the old ways of the Jedi.
So you're saying that anybody can have or acquire the Force?
I mean, it's not anyone.
Like with
it may be stronger or weaker in certain people. Leia has the Force within her. It may not be as strong as Luke.
That was pretty cool. I thought she was dead.
Right. So she had the Force within her, and old Star Wars books once said that the Force may kick in time of distress. So what more distress than near death? And it saved her what happened.
Kind of like when you get superpowers if something bad happens.
Right. So a lot of this movie explained a lot of things that went over a lot of people's head because people wanted it to be a certain way, and it wasn't. People wanted to know who Snoke was. People wanted Rey's parents to be somebody of importance.
That's not going to happen.
And to me, that would take more movie time.
Of course.
Because you have to. A lot of people's complaints was Rey wasn't Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter, and it's like, okay, now you got to explain how this Jedi who's damn near a monk had sex with someone, and now
when Jedi don't do that,
right? So now you got to say, okay, he gave the Jedi ways, met a woman, started a family. When was this? Because when we seen him last before he died, he was still just old man Ben Kenobi. So what they wanted is like, it's not realistic. You telling me now I got to get a whole other story to explain. Same thing with Snoke. It's like, okay, people wanted Snoke to be Darth Sidious or whatever.
Yeah.
That was Palpatine's. It's like, okay, where has he been for the last 7 movies? So the things that people wanted just isn't realistic. And the people are like, oh, well, Snoke was a nobody. Well, neither was Palpatine until the prequels explained who he was, that he was the senator. But in the first movies, which was 4, 5, and 6, at the time were not 4, 5, and 6. They were just A New Hope, Empire, and so on. We didn't know who he was, and he dies in the third one. Nobody cared because it was like, okay, the movie's about this guy. Darth Vader became the big bad guy. Now,
speaking of bad guys, like I don't feel like there was a main bad guy in this one. And kind of like Kylo Ren was an accessory.
And here's why I say I get that as well.
And then you had a new emperor. Like, wow, this guy's big and bad, and then all of a sudden he dies.
Right. So in this one, I feel like we're getting the introduction of Kylo Ren. So I feel in episode 9 he may be that big bad guy. The first 2 movies kind of set him up.
I hope so, because I don't like his character so far.
I like the character development of him, because this is remember, from episode 3 to 4, when 4 starts, again, was the first movie ever, we're just told Darth Vader is the most feared person in the galaxy. We don't know what he did at that point. When we saw episode 3 finally, we understood why he was so bad, because his wife died. He didn't know he had kids. He was just angry because he couldn't save her. He was kind of
he
bitchy.
was obsessed.
He was kind of bitchy. He was kind of an immature guy himself. He was young, fell in love with Padme. He tried to save her. He was always whining. No, da da da. So you kind of see Kylo Ren traits in him. Now imagine
Was he traits?
Yes. He did what he did for her when she died, and that's what I was gonna say. When she dies, we don't know what he went through from her death to episode 4.
I like the part. I like that he had on the mask that he wears.
Kylo Ren?
He doesn't need it. Yeah, he doesn't need it. And then the emperor at that time, he says, "Take that mask off."
Right, because he's trying to be his grandfather so much, and it's like, you're not him. He needed to wear that. It was keeping him alive. You
Copycat.
Right. So that's why I said he's getting character development. They're developing him and Ray. We're getting a whole new story now. We're getting a new saga. The Skywalker story is done. Now we're getting Ray and versus Kylo Ren, and these characters are being built up. And again, Episode 9 has to be the clash.
Yeah, because they had to transition away from the Lucas era.
Right. So that's what I said. I like the build up, and we know it's a trilogy. So this is we know going into it, it's going to take 3 movies for it to be fully fleshed out. Right. And I like the direction that it's going. I like the fact that because Episode 7, Force Awakens, was pretty much an updated version of A New Hope.
Right, with more talking,
right,
and introduction to new characters.
So everybody just thought this was going to be The Empire Strikes Back, and it wasn't. And we kind of got it in the marketing. In the commercial, Luke says it's not going to end the way you think it's going to end. He told us, and it damn sure did. So we kind of got a heads up. People didn't take it. They didn't take it as People looked at it like, oh, they played us, da da da. And I'm like, I like the fact that we didn't know what was coming next. Everything you thought that was gonna happen, they either failed or it flipped this way. Oh, so and so's died, da da da.
They kept the element of surprise.
And
I think this movie rivaled Empire Strikes Back. I liked it.
I think it did too.
Had a lot of action in space.
It definitely had a lot of action.
A lot of fighting.
And another complaint that people had was there was no lightsaber battle. And to me, I think everybody's too caught up in there
Star
must
Wars
be
is
a
not
lightsaber.
all about lightsabers.
Right. And I feel like that this movie, the purpose of this movie was kind of to say, let go of what you know. These are new characters. This is the galaxy now. 20, 30 years later, things have changed. It's not just dark side versus light side. It's not Jedi versus Sith. It's all blown up right now.
My favorite part was probably everybody's favorite part was when Luke made an appearance when nobody thought he would show up.
Right. When I first saw him, I was like, how the hell did he get in there? I was about to be really pissed when he walked up. I was like, wait. They said there was no way out.
They said there was no back entrance.
He just comes walking up.
He sits with Leia.
Right.
They hold hands and they exchange some words. Then he goes out to fight the whole entire fleet.
Right.
And he's just standing, and this guy's like open fire on him, and everybody's shooting at him like crazy.
Yeah.
And you know at that point nothing's gonna hurt him. They start fighting.
Right.
Luke is dodging everything left and right. He's not even there.
Not even there.
Like, he fucks everybody up, and he's not even there.
He was basically just being a diversion, so the rebellion can escape. And I feel like it was his last. I feel like he got a good send off. Again, another gripe that some people have was
he also said that he likes the movie. He liked the movie, but. He said, this is not my Luke Skywalker.
Correct. He also said that same thing in, I think, Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. One of the movies he also said he didn't, He had, and again, a lot of people took that and ran with it, saying, see, even he doesn't like it. And it was like, no, him being the actor wanted it to be a certain way. But he said, listen, if this is how the script says, then so be it. I'm going to perform the part how it is. And he saw the finished product and said, it came out pretty well.
He became the next Yoda.
Right, and that's, again, as time goes on. Qui-Gon Jinn died, Obi-Wan Kenobi died, Yoda died, it was his turn.
Qui-Gon died so fast.
Again,
what was the Sith's name? Sidious?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul. I thought that would have been a good character.
Well, Darth Maul came back in the cartoons.
But not everybody watches the cartoons.
Right. I mean, I think Darth Maul was cool, but again, because he had the dual lightsaber, so he was definitely a cool character, but his time was limited. I mean, he served his purpose. He was just there to be the bad guy for that setup. It was the setup movie.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think a lot of people's issues was just basically wanting more. And it's like, listen, go into an open mind, take it for what it's worth. I like the movie. I think it was well done. I don't know what's going to happen next, and that's what I like about it, because we knew it was going to be 3 parts, and I like the fact that nothing was predictable. So
agreed.
I look forward to the next movie. just like, well, what are they gonna do now? I'm probably more hyped now for the next movie just because like this happened, everything's such turmoil, and they got to rebuild that so much can happen.
It's crazy that it'll make money just because it'll make money because it's Star Wars.
Even when people disliked it, hated it, whatever, it's like it's still Star Wars. People that even hated this one are like, okay, well they better do it right the next one. I'm gonna see that one, so they're not gonna. It's Star Wars, you know. It's Star Wars. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Like I said before, it rivaled. In my opinion, it rivaled Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm. Would you say Empire is the best movie of all of them so far?
I can't say it's the best, but it's up there.
Okay.
I'd say a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I'd probably go.
I would see it again to see the same movie and pay full price again. That shows a lot.
Yeah, I'd probably go 8 out of 10. Maybe if I see it again, I'll really appreciate it. Like again, one thing I noticed that somebody brought up when Luke appears at the end and he ducks under and slides. The little salt doesn't pick up when he slides.
You notice that?
Yeah, and I seen like a little YouTube video. I was like, that's so. Again, sometimes you see some things, and the second time you watch it, it might go up, might go down. So yeah, as of now, I'm gonna say 8. It might go up to 9 next time. Might go down to 7. I doubt it, but I'll give it an 8 for now. Anything else you didn't like about it, or did like about it? You want to talk about?
I liked in the beginning when Leia was speaking, they were fighting, and she, I don't know, it's just a little detail that got me like, yeah. Like, she sat, after all the fighting was done, she sat down, relaxed, and took a sigh of relief. It reminded me of Empire Strikes Back, when the, I forgot what his name is, but it was a brown looking guy. Like he had a big mask, brown looking, and he did the same exact thing, like a sit down sigh of relief.
Right. I don't remember which the character.
I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I liked it. I think a lot of the nitpicks. The biggest thing is watching this movie, and from what I hear, the gripes are about it. It's like telling someone that their religion is wrong. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like people are so diehard about Star Wars. It's like imagine
it's not George Lucas anymore. They need to accept that.
Right, and even a lot of the stuff that Rian Johnson used was actually from Star Wars books and stuff, from the novels that George Lucas wrote.
Really?
Yeah. See, this is Rian Johnson's house. He showed. Let me see. Go back. That one. That's not. Yeah. So he has the Jedi Path, Book of Sith. So he has actually books that he's and. Someone asked him, just watched, and I have to say there was nothing consistent with the Force. Snoke creating Force time between Rey and Kylo is insane. And then he rebutted it by saying, doppelganger, hold on a second, permits a Jedi to create a short-lived duplicate of himself or herself or an external object that is visually indistinguishable from the real item. Those who have perfected this ability can create phantoms of any person of their choosing or trick an enemy into exactly. And that's exactly what Luke did in the end. So this is from books written by George Lucas himself. So he didn't just make this stuff up. So a lot of people are like, you know, oh my God, Rian Johnson just making stuff up now. And it's like, no, this is actually written by George Lucas. He just never put it into the movies, probably because, you know, obviously those stories need to be a little more fleshed out, but now that we already know Jedi powers, he's like, let me show you what else they can do. So, and I'll send you this link, but you can see a couple people on Twitter were getting at him saying that's not real. Jedi's can't do that. How you just making stuff? And they're like, well, actually,
they don't know.
If you flip this page, right? So he didn't just make any of that stuff up. Same thing.
The Star Wars as a whole is complex.
Right. There's a lot more things that they barely touch the surface, like. The scene with Leia, I think one of the books novels say like when a Jedi is in distress, a force field can be put around them to protect them, and that's kind of what happened to Leia when she was in space, you know. So again,
that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a little different because like that when I first seen them, like this is how they're gonna, you know.
kill her
remove her character, and then I was like, oh no, she's left. Oh,
That's right. Her character was left alive.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're gonna do now for the next movie.
Maybe use CGI and kill her off real quick.
That's a lot of CGI, right? I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna handle her because obviously, you know,
They did it when she gave the Death Star plans when Darth Vader came back.
right in Rogue One,
Right.
and then so episode 8, Han Solo, we lost Han Solo. No, 7. Excuse me. Episode 7, we lost Han Solo. Episode 8, we lost Luke. So episode 9 will be the last remaining. Well, you know, Chewbacca still be there, but we're most of the characters from the previous movies are gone.
I didn't think I would
Unless
like
they kill Chewbacca
BB-8's
off, too.
character. I didn't think I would like BB-8 in the movie.
BB-8 was
it's
cool,
R2D2. That's
Right.
it. That's the only droid you need.
but they needed some more toys.
They needed something modern.
Right.
Something modern. For
I liked
kids.
everything he did except for driving the little walker thing. I think that was a little
Yes.
excessive.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have hands. It was like how's he controlling that? I think that was a little different when the top came off and it was him. I was like, all right.
And I noticed that they're putting comedy in Star Wars now.
Yeah, I mean, it was the last two have had it because this one had.
I'm not used to comedy in Star Wars movies. I mean, it's good. Like a little bit is cool, and I think it was just. It was good. It was a good amount. Like when BB-8 was like kind of like plugging the water holes.
Right. And usually it was C-3PO and R2D2 were kind of the comic relief before, and now it's still BB-8's holding it, but now Poe is kind of doing it too. So
I think they gave all the other droids a decent amount of time. R2D2.
yeah.
C-3PO.
Yep. All right. Well, that's our review. That's our opinions on the movie. If you have anything you want to add, feel free to comment below. You can also hit us up on all my social media, 2021 Vision, all across the board, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And we're out here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the show, hit the like button. Share it. Tell your friends about it. Let them know what's going on. Also, hit subscribe and the bell to be notified when new content is loaded, because there's much, much more to come.